DMGs That Are Wrong YouTube channel. My name is Mike, and like always, we got Gage and Dylan here with us. Before we get into the video, make sure you guys hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and turn that notification bell on so you're notified anytime we upload a video. Now let's jump right into it. Alright, jumping into the video here. Isaac Topa on your screen. Will Baker Mayfield get traded? Sorry, a little dramatic there, but will he get traded out of the Browns? Or will he stick around?
Oh.
Stay tuned to find out what the answer to that question is, because we got insides with the Browns. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, wait, whoa. Holy cow.
No, we decided to hit this topic because it hasn't really been talked about at all, and this is kind of like new, fresh news, so we just felt like we should bring it to the attention of everybody.
It's very important news to cover, so.
It's probably like the only news going on right now.
Yeah.
Sean Watson.
No one cares to talk about that one.
Everybody does, apparently, but... Yeah. So I guess we can just kind of start with Jimmy G first, because he's kind of in that same situation, and he's had some recent stuff pop up, and kind of get our opinions on this one. It made it seem at like the press conference at, what was it, training camp? It's not training camp.
OTAs?
OTAs, there we go. That he's not a part of it right now. Like, he's not there. He's rehabbing, and kind of said, Shanahan kind of reiterated that he's going to be traded, right? He wants him to be traded. And then there's a report that came out that the Niners could just cut their losses and cut him.
Yikes.
So I think that kind of throws out the window the potential chance that Jimmy G comes back and starts over Trey Lance. Theory that I had a little bit ago.
Yeah. Oh, it's happening. Sorry, excuse me for the yawn, but yeah, I don't see that happening. From the 49ers, I think you move on to the guy that you literally traded up to number 3 to get in not this past year's draft, but the year before that's draft. And I think you move on from Jimmy G. He did a good service to you, had some good memories, had some fun times, but he's getting old, and, I mean, we see what his ceiling is. And I don't think he can take him much farther than what they did last year, and even by that was a stretch. So,
which I think is like a huge issue in his like situation. Is like Michael said, you have seen his ceiling. The Niners are a very good team, so then why would you want him? Because you can't really win with him. It doesn't seem like you can't win a Super Bowl with him. They got close, and he threw it away, literally.
yeah.
Overthrew it.
Wasn't the Carson wins?
But, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a crappy situation
For him.
and the team. You know, they don't have any problems with Jimmy G. There's no like discourse with them like it is with Baker. It's just, you know, they're moving in a different direction and they're trying to help him out. But I think he's just gonna end up being cut. I don't think he's gonna get traded.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see a lot of teams going out of their way to get him.
I would say, if it was me, just kind of picking apart the situation.
Can you get a little louder, Dylan? You're a little far away.
Yeah, can you hear me a little bit better now?
Yeah,
Okay.
a little bit.
Yeah, sorry. My take on the situation, just from like the different pieces I've read and stuff like that, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get traded that he stays, because it's not a toxic situation. Whereas if Baker stays, there's no way Baker is on the team week 1. Were you raising your hand at all or something?
If he stays on the team over like after like a certain date or whatever, he's owed $20 million. Whereas if they cut him, it's only a $2 million cap hit.
That's what I'm saying though. Is like, I still think they wouldn't mind having a backup, especially where you have a running quarterback that in this league can be just in and of itself an injury risk. I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners keep him versus just cutting him straight up because, yeah, I mean you lose the $18 million, but I mean who's their backup? Is it? It's not Beathard still. It's like Nick Mullins or something like
Colt McCoy.
Colt
Colt McCoy.
Isn't
Yeah,
Colt McCoy Arizona's backup?
I think he moved on.
I think it's Nick Mullins. I think Nick Mullins is in San
Nick
Francisco.
Mullins played for the Browns last year
I'm
for a
pretty
game
sure
or
he's
so.
in San Francisco now, though.
See,
Oh
this is
no,
probably
Colt.
why you should
Yeah.
keep him.
Colt McCoy is on the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Gonna say.
So that's what I'm saying though. Is I don't know. I feel like if you have aspirations for this team, if there's a chance to get Jimmy Garoppolo to another team and get you some draft picks back and get that 18 million off your books, like hell yeah, do that 100%. I think everyone in that organization is expecting that to happen. But if for some reason, the surgery or whatever kind of the rehab takes a little too long, I wouldn't be surprised seeing Jimmy Garoppolo staying on the team. He's good for the locker room. I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna be a distraction. I mean, we're gonna talk about it more on, but like Baker staying is a whole different story than Jimmy Garoppolo staying in San Francisco.
Yeah. That you guys kind of get our take on that. Before we move on to the Baker thing, the main meat of this episode that we're gonna do, this epi. What team are you if you're willing to trade for Jimmy? Like, what franchise are you in the NFL if you're willing to trade for Jimmy right now? And why?
I mean, there's a lot of teams that kind of got their placeholders already. Um, Obviously, Panthers are a team where if you are ready to cut ties on Darnold and you have
All
no
signs
hope,
seem that they are.
and you have no hope for Matt Corral, and for some reason you think having another quarterback come in is going to help you at all, that's a choice. Seattle, um, Drew Lock's Drew Lock. I don't think there's going to be much of a surprise from him. I would say outside of that, like it would just be a team that wants a extremely good backup quarterback. That could be the Buccaneers. It could be the Bill. Not the Bills. I think they got someone that's a decent backup, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's decent.
They traded for
You
him.
know, the Vikings potentially just have a solid backup.
So funny you bring that up. I'll transition that to Michael because Mikey and I are talking about it, and he said the Vikings could be somebody for
They did.
Jimmy G.
I did say that.
For Jimmy G.
Yeah, I did say that the Vikings could trade for Jimmy G only because they signed Kirk Cousins to an atrocious deal, 1 year, $35 million for some god-awful reason. And I mean, it might be a hot take, but I personally think that Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Kirk Cousins. I'm sorry, but primetime Kirk is absolutely atrocious. He is terrible. He's not a good quarterback in the NFL. He's a 500 guy, maybe. What?
Devil's advocate. Is that because his defense has been really poor and his line has been bad with the old head coach?
He wasn't even really that good on the Commanders or football team or whatever the hell you want to call him.
I would say you're not getting much difference.
But you are improving. You're improving for sure.
I mean, you're gonna have to pay him another, 15, 16 million to have him on your team. You're already paying, just say 40.
I mean, maybe you could. Maybe there's something worked out, and I mean, I don't know. You'd have to work something out to where you have to get rid of Kirk Cousins.
I think,
but,
I think having him as a backup, like I was saying, is an option. But like, I wouldn't. They're not going to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo just to have Jimmy Garoppolo play instead.
Screw being a backup. He's better than your starter.
I don't think he's better than Kirk Cousins.
You don't think he's better than Kirk Cousins?
I personally think they're on the same realm. I think they're on the same tier. I think if you brought Kirk Cousins to the Niners, Kirk Cousins would do with the Niners that Jimmy G's been doing, and I think if you put Jimmy G on the Vikings would be doing about as good as the Vikings have been doing. I think they're
Potentially, but
I
I
think they're
would.
about the same.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to choose one, I'd roll with Jimmy G.
I would roll with the one that has been healthy for the last 8 years of his career.
Yep. So that was the thing I brought up, just the health.
Yeah, I mean the only other things that I could think of is, I mean, Giants just has a backup plan if the season really goes into the trash can like it's expected to. Um, you could do, any team that happens to lose their quarterback to a freak injury could up and trade for Jimmy Garoppolo and take on the rest of his salary and everything like that.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what Sam Bradford did. He came in for, it wasn't the Eagles, was it? When he came back to the Eagles or something like that, or maybe it was the Vikings. But yeah, I think that's where Jimmy G is now. I'd say the most likely targets for a QB trade straight up is going to be the Panthers and the Seahawks because they don't have a firm quarterback right
Yeah.
now.
Okay. Well, we've kind of hit Jimmy Garoppolo enough. I would say he's been kind of quiet, but we can kind of go to the hot topic that everyone's got their own take on in the world at the moment. Um, Dylan's kind of hinted towards it a bit, but I guess I can just kind of fill in with the most recent news that's come out. I guess the Panthers are doing their due diligence on Baker Mayfield. Um, they've been in talks with trading conversations between the teams. The Browns have expressed that they would pay around 8 to 10 million, so about half to a little bit above half of his total $18 million this year to release him. There's been some talks of like a Baker for Robbie Anderson, because it kind of seems that Robbie Anderson may not be too happy, which I don't see that being very true. And then there's also been stuff like just Baker for Sam Darnold straight up. Um, but it kind of seems that it's getting hot, and it was hot during like the second round, the second day of the draft, and it kind of just evaporated, and then the Panthers got Matt Corral, and was it the third or the fifth?
I think it might have been fifth round. Might have been fifth round.
Double check that, but it was a pretty good deal.
I think Ritter and Malik were the only third round QBs.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But that kind of shut it down. Right around there. Third round. Yep.
Oh,
Matt
wow.
was-
That's right.
Third round, 94th. You're right, Dill. That kind of shut down the talks, and now it's just kind of interesting. Why is it getting brought back up? You did just get him in the third round. Maybe they're not wanting to throw him into the fire. 1 year rental for Baker to see if they can save their jobs.
Maybe.
That's kind of the only thing that really makes sense to
Yeah.
me.
I mean, I wouldn't put the future of my job on either Sam Darnold or a rookie quarterback.
Right? And it's not like you would want to put your job on Baker Mayfield at the moment either, but he still has shown that he can do it.
Yeah. Sam
So,
Darnold hasn't shown anything, and obviously Matt Corral hasn't shown anything because he hasn't played a single snap yet. But
That's kind of like all the background stuff that has been happening. Just kind of get your takes on it, Dill. How are you feeling about it? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think should happen?
Yeah, that's two different things. What I think will happen, I think Browns are gonna have to cut him.
Go, keep going. We'll get into
I,
it. Keep going.
I only say that because that's the worst option. That's the worst thing to happen, and that's just the way that I think things are feeling. Because, I mean, there's one team in competition for Baker. It seems like. I mean, from an outsider view, it seems like it's just Carolina.
Right.
Carolina's like, I mean, yeah, we'd take him, but like, unless you give us a hell of a, Brock Osweiler kind of deal, like, just we're gonna wait until you cut him, and then we only have to pay him whatever we agree on. And then they don't have to give up draft capital or whatever else they would, trade and stuff like that. I mean, the only other thing that could happen is um, someone like a Tampa Bay or someone that has a really old quarterback that is kind of just gearing up for the next era. They could potentially make that deal to kind of screw over Carolina, but like I think that's what's most likely going to happen is they're going to have to cut Baker because there's no way in hell he is on that team. I would say almost even into training camp. I like he's just you're not doing anything. He's not going to report. He's not going to come to the facility. He's not going to play another down. He's not going to do anything for the Browns. Like that is done, in the grave and everything. So your options now is either wait and hit a threshold where you have to pay him your money, or you cut him, cut ties, and salvage whatever you can, for the 53-man roster and stuff like that. Okay. You still have hella cap room, so.
They do. They already have a ton.
Yeah.
They actually have the most in the NFL at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think they're keeping that for a rollover for paying for next year's players and whatnot. But that's not the point of this. Okay. So I was going to bring in something that some people have been saying that, like, it might be advantageous for the Baker and the Browns to kind of to mend together and try to play a few games. Like say Sean gets suspended.
That's what I was just about to say. Yeah. Well, what if he plays? I thought it'd be a good idea to keep him around. Just cuz.
Yeah. And what if I shoot my own foot with a gun?
It seems all right.
That would just be
exactly
another Saturday for you, Dylan, wouldn't it?
What if?
Let
yeah,
me
but
turn
what
on
if?
my-
What
Let me
if?
turn on my Plaxico burst real quick, and it'd be the same exact thing.
Yeah, but what if you shooting yourself in the foot actually ended up being a good thing? Because say you're supposed to go on a trip next week and you're supposed to be on a plane, but you can't go now because you just shot yourself in the foot and you're in the hospital. That plane that you were supposed to be on crashes and everyone else dies, but you stay alive because you shot yourself in the foot.
I don't believe in destiny.
What?
But you do believe in miracles, right?
Yeah. We have Matt Ryan.
Is it a miracle that he's still playing on the field? Is that what the miracle is?
It is, honestly.
Oh man. No.
But, yeah.
So
Go ahead.
the cutting, so that like it makes sense on paper, right? Like Mikey brings up like a good point. I'm sure everybody's heard it at this point. Somebody's brought it up. Just don't look at it like it's Madden, right? Because on Madden that makes perfect sense, right? Like you just look at it from the outside looking in, and you're like, yeah, that's good for everybody, right? Everybody wins there. Where's the negative? Well, the negatives are in the real life scenario of that. Breaker and Kevin Stefanski's relationship is shattered, right? Like there is none at the moment. Baker basically was saying that Stefanski put him in zero and an awful chance to succeed, and Stefanski's saying, well, we were just running our offense, and if he can't do it, then it explains that, right? So like that's kind of fractured. All right, but let's say this does happen, and then Baker does come and play for the Browns, and say they win their first 4 games to 6 games, with Baker in there, or he balls out like he did in 2020. What do you do then as a franchise? Like, what are you doing at that point with Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski? You're not going to bring back the guy that you're just shot away for another guy for 3 first-round picks your entire future. You can't bring him back and hold your jobs in safety.
Limbo?
Sure.
Right? Like that just kind of puts you on the hot seat.
At Jeopardy.
Yeah, Jeopardy. Thank you. I was trying to figure out the freaking word. It's just not a good situation. Then like there's the locker room aspect where it seems like there was a lot of problems in the locker room with Baker. I'm not sure why, because it seemed like a lot of players did like him, and then all of a sudden he's gone, and then you just keep hearing more and more crap come out.
Stockholm.
What?
Stockholm syndrome.
But I can see where people think it's a good idea. It's just, you got to think these guys are humans. They're not just football players, right? Like you're not gonna dump your ex, get with this new girl, but she's out of town, and then think it's okay to be hanging out with your ex all the time.
for my analogy, back
Right.
to shooting your foot off. Would you rather shoot your foot off and cut Baker, or blow your head off and keep Baker on the team for at least one game? Like,
Or you just get
dude,
rid of him and you just get a happy ending.
gosh, too soon, dude. All right. Anyways,
Nice.
anyways,
Oh man.
okay. So, in my opinion, he's gone before training camp, or I mean, he's not going anywhere to the Browns facility. He's not going
Yeah.
back to Cleveland at all. Like, he's cut and run. So
It would be a terrible idea to keep him.
I agree. I don't think he plays another snap for the Browns. I think that's out of the window. I think that's just ESPN topics to talk about in the off season.
what if he takes a minimum deal, goes to LA, backs up Matty Stafford, and gets a little LA loving.
Good for him. I want him to be successful in the NFL. I would love to see him in the NFL. I know people hate him and like to bag on him and talk about like how he's the worst quarterback of all time, kind of bull crap that the media just enjoys, and so everyone kind of bags up onto him. It makes no sense to me. But the NFL is better when he's playing. Like, he's a character that's entertaining for people, whether that's on the field or in his comments. He just makes the league more fun. So I would hope that he succeeds somewhere. To Dylan's cutting him point, that's just not going to happen. What's the point? What as the Browns, what do you get out of this situation? What do you
don't
get for
get
cutting
in
him?
your locker room.
He's not going to be in the locker room. You can pay him to stay home. Like, hey, you're not playing this year, but you're not in this.
Yeah, but you lose a roster spot. You're telling the other team it's more important for us to, just, like, you get another roster spot by cutting him. Like, you're gonna say you're gonna leave that roster spot just because, like, that's what you're gonna lose. Like, either
That's
way,
the only. That's the only like fair argument with it.
yeah, because like I mean, otherwise you're either paying him 18 million to not be home, but you get to pay someone else to be on the field, or you pay him to not be on the field.
But at the same time, injuries happen every single year. And what's more valuable, that 53rd player that may see the field a few times a year, just in case one of their players gets injured, or the ability to have a valuable asset of hey, this quarterback can play and he's won games. All of a sudden, he looks really nice and tasty now that your quarterback's gotten hurt, doesn't he?
Well, Cleveland went out and signed Jacoby Brissett. They signed Josh Dobbs, and they signed or drafted another quarterback as well. So
I
their
think he's
plan
gone
is-
already. He
yeah,
already left.
Baker's gone. Yeah.
No. That quarterback that they drafted, he didn't make it through camp.
Oh. Well, either way, you still have three quarterbacks. Brissett's the backup, and Josh Dobbs is potentially a guy that can stay if that roster spot's valuable enough.
So we think he's. So let's just say he gets traded to the Panthers, right? We all kind of don't think that's going to happen, but let's say he does in this situation. Now the Sam Darnold one makes sense, but I don't want to see Sam Darnold in a Browns uniform. I don't. I didn't want to see him in a uniform when he was getting drafted. I definitely don't want to see him now that you see what he can do.
No,
I think that would be.
Darnold gets cut, and then he signs a deal with a contender to be a backup. A la Rams, a la the freaking Saints or something. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, random teams, like, he's going to be a backup. He's whatever.
Yeah.
Mitchell Trubisky, maybe he goes to the Raiders and becomes the backup for Derek Carr or something.
That's kind of like where I'm like, I don't. It doesn't really make sense. It does give you another body in that room if Deshaun Watson is suspended. Then you've got a backup for Brissett because let's be real, Josh Dobbs is not a backup to play. Josh Dobbs is there because he's extremely intelligent and he does very well as a backup. He does those things that you need to be done to help your team succeed off the field, for your team to succeed when they're on the field. So that stuff's important.
I mean, if Jacoby Brissett could read a field, he'd still be our quarterback. So
Yeah. I feel you there, brother.
Okay, so that Darnold one just doesn't really make sense, right? Like,
No,
it doesn't
that
work
would
for either
never
side,
happen.
really. Right? It really only works for the Panthers in that aspect. You cut one guy that you're paying way more money than you should, and you get Baker, who is gone in a year, so then that salary you're paying him is gone, right? Like that's a win-win-win-win for the Panthers, and that's it.
Yeah.
Um, Now the Robbie Anderson for Baker thing kind of makes sense if the Panthers do want him, because Robbie's kind of made it known that he's not a fan,
Of Baker Mayfield.
right? So then if their plan is to go with Baker,
Robbie.
is maybe instead of getting up a pick, yeah, you cut some, one player that probably wouldn't want to be there with this new quarterback
Yeah.
who could cause some problems in the locker room with that. You don't have to give up a pick, and you get rid of some cap from a veteran wide receiver's contract that you paid. So that's like the most
I could see that actually happening.
plausible one. Like that's the one I think could happen if they are going to trade. That or just like a simple Baker for a fifth.
There you go. That's
Right.
I
Like
think
that
that's the
one
best
that one I can see as well.
And then you figure out what to do with Robbie Anderson. Either tell him to quit being a crybaby and grow up, or
Right, but he's a professional, right?
Get
So
off the field.
even if he gets his quarterback in, he makes his money from the quarterback. So he would mend that, right?
You want me to tell you what the deal's going to be
what's
if
the
they
deal?
get Baker?
Sure.
Yeah,
I'll be
Baker.
right back. You guys keep going.
Okay. It's going to be Baker for a 6th-round pick, conditional on him starting, just kind of like what Wentz was. Move it up to a 5th-round pick if he plays X amount of games or something like that. And then they take on like 10 million from the Browns. That's my expectation for the trade if they were to get it done. If not, Baker gets cut and the Panthers sign him for nothing and they get to keep everyone. That's my take on it.
The whole Baker thing is just all over the place. I'm curious to see what is actually going to happen with this whole thing.
Yeah, well, I think with Baker, did you hear what I said about the trade? Gage, okay.
No, I'm back. I didn't hear it.
So I said that the deal is going to be a Baker for a 6th-round pick, conditional on starting snaps, starting games or whatever. They could be turned into a 5th-round pick, and then the Panthers take on 10 million of the deal. I think that's the most fair. Browns get something, and they shed some money off the books. The Panthers get another quarterback to try this year to figure something out that's going to work with Christian McCaffrey and all the weapons that they've kind of all pieced together over the course of a couple of years. And with that defense, they might have something there. I think that's the most likely trade scenario. I think Robbie Anderson going to the Browns is not going to happen, and if that was to be the case, the Browns would be sending picks to Carolina for that to happen and sweeten the deal, essentially. The Browns might give, say a 4th or 5th-round pick along with Baker for that option to have Robbie Anderson, because he's a pretty damn good wide receiver when he has a capable wide receiver throwing to him. I mean, it would be like having Will Fuller for Deshaun Watson. So
Maybe old Robbie Anderson. Last year he was awful, and he got pissed off all the time. But when the ball did throw and directly hit him in his hands, he dropped him. So he can't really get pissed off too much with his quarterback play.
But either way, he didn't have a great great quarterback, and I mean, even Allen Robinson had an off year, but it was not like Allen Robinson fell off a cliff. So, but yeah, that's my expectations. But yeah, I think the fate of Baker, being out of Cleveland is signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah, there's no way he stays. Unfortunately,
Not a
That is
chance.
a burnt bridge all around. But if you guys have made it to the end of this video, we do appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 100. We're really close. Help us get there. We'd appreciate it. And we'll keep you guys up to date with this news as per usual. So,
Oh yeah.
anything
And-
else to say, boys?
Yeah, just stay tuned. We're gonna start putting out team-specific videos. We're gonna go and recap everyone's off season and kind of wrap that up with a pretty bow before the start of
Yes, sir.
the new year. I mean, hopefully before the end of training camp is done, we can have everything kind of wrapped up. And yeah, I mean, stay tuned for that. We're gonna start putting out a lot of videos.
Oh, yeah. With all that being said, one love. Peace out.
Deuces.